Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to be here with this group of people. And in every other word, I think you can imagine, there's never been anything like it.
On the evening of September 5th, 2025, the White House once again became the stage for an extraordinary gathering. Unlike the expected outdoor setting of the Rose Garden, this event was moved indoors to the historic state dining room, a choice that immediately caught the attention of many observers. The room, known for its deep symbolism and tradition, offered a more formal and intimate atmosphere, creating a striking backdrop for what unfolded. The occasion brought together some of the most influential figures in global technology. Leaders of companies that shape the digital future sat side by side with policymakers and advisors exchanging greetings under the soft light of chandeliers that have witnessed centuries of American history. Every detail, from the polished tableware to the carefully arranged seating, signaled the gravity of the moment. This was not merely a social dinner. It was a convergence of power, vision, and perhaps untold intentions. For those watching, questions quickly arose. Was this gathering simply an elegant display of diplomacy, a chance for leaders to show camaraderie and connection? Or was there something deeper taking shape behind closed doors, where technology and policy might intertwine in ways that could influence not only the United States, but the world at large? The atmosphere was both solemn and electric, as if history was quietly writing another page. Cameras captured the calm smiles and brief handshakes, yet what was truly exchanged in conversations remained unseen. Viewers were left to interpret: is this a sign of new global cooperation or the beginning of strategic negotiations hidden behind polite gestures? What do you think? Was this just a social event, or does it carry a larger meaning? If you share our curiosity, hit subscribe. If you think entirely differently, press like. The event quickly took on an aura of significance as the roster of attendees was revealed. Sitting at the long table in the state dining room were names that have come to define the digital age: Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, Tim Cook of Apple, Sundar Pichai of Google, and Satya Nadella of Microsoft. Each leader, representing not just corporations but entire ecosystems of innovation, was given the opportunity to speak. Their words carried both symbolic weight and practical impact as they announced figures tied to future investments, expansions, and commitments that may ripple across industries. Mark Zuckerberg spoke of strengthening infrastructure for virtual connectivity, pointing to billions directed toward immersive platforms in digital communities. Tim Cook highlighted Apple's role in sustainable design, introducing commitments in renewable energy and accessibility. Sundar Pichai laid out Google's plans for artificial intelligence in education and healthcare, coupling his remarks with significant funding numbers. Satya Nadella emphasized collaboration across borders, with Microsoft pledging resources to enhance cybersecurity and global cloud services. What captured the spotlight, however, was not only their statements, but also the way the President of the United States addressed them. In a moment that drew both smiles and raised eyebrows, he referred to this distinguished gathering as the High IQ Group. The phrase echoed across the room, sparking speculation. Was this simply a flattering gesture, a casual remark made in the spirit of camaraderie, or was it a deliberate framing, casting these figures as not only business leaders, but also intellectual stewards of the digital future? Viewers are left to ponder the nuance behind such a label. Does High IQ Group underscore genuine recognition of intelligence and strategic thinking? Or is it more of a diplomatic compliment tailored for the evening? The answer may not be obvious, and interpretations will surely differ. So we ask you, do you believe this title was meant as a true affirmation of intellect, or merely a polite phrase suited to the dinner table? If you agree with the first view, comment 1. If you sense it carried another signal entirely, comment 0. As the evening progressed, the tone of the dinner shifted from ceremonial gestures to striking figures that commanded attention. Each technology leader took the stage not only to exchange pleasantries, but also to reveal numbers that seemed almost beyond imagination. Mark Zuckerberg, representing Meta, announced a projected investment of 600 billion USD, framing it as a push toward expanding virtual ecosystems and digital infrastructure. Tim Cook, speaking for Apple, echoed a similar magnitude: 600 billion USD, a figure positioned around sustainability, advanced manufacturing, and global innovation networks. Sundar Pichai, representing Google, introduced a plan amounting to 250 billion USD, emphasizing artificial intelligence as a transformative force in healthcare education and accessibility. Satya Nadella of Microsoft revealed commitments of 75 to 80 billion USD annually, highlighting long-term projects in cloud technology, cybersecurity, and cross-border cooperation. The sheer scale of these announcements created a sense of awe in the room. Yet as cameras captured the nods and applause, another layer of thought emerged. Were these numbers to be taken as official roadmaps signaling concrete and binding commitments? Or were they better understood as carefully framed messages designed to demonstrate vision, leadership, and confidence without necessarily binding companies to a rigid financial timeline? Observers were left balancing two perspectives: the possibility that this dinner quietly became a platform for declaring history-shaping investments, or the alternative view that these were strategic signals aimed more at perception than policy. So the question naturally arises, are these figures to be seen as official plans, firm commitments, or simply powerful messages crafted for the occasion? If you lean toward the first interpretation, comment 1. If you sense another meaning, comment 0. Among the many formal speeches and heavy announcements of billions in investment, one moment stood out for its unusual simplicity. When Tim Cook took the microphone, instead of diving straight into figures or lengthy arguments, he began and continued with a steady repetition of the words, "Thank you." For nearly 2 minutes, he circled around this phrase, offering gratitude to the hosts, to the fellow leaders, to the teams behind the scenes, and even in a broader sense to the spirit of collaboration that brought everyone into the same room. The repetition created an atmosphere unlike the others. At first, the audience responded with polite applause, but as Cook continued, smiles began to spread, laughter echoed softly, and the mood shifted into something lighter and unexpectedly warm. The solemn state dining room, where chandeliers usually illuminate careful protocol, briefly transformed into a space of shared humanity. Cameras caught the moment, and soon clips of his 2-minute cascade of thank yous began circulating widely across social media platforms, where viewers debated both the humor and the depth behind his performance. Was this simply a display of politeness, the refined manners of a seasoned executive? Or was there a subtler layer beneath it, a metaphorical expression of appreciation, perhaps signaling gratitude toward the investment climate, the openness of dialogue, or even the historical weight of the occasion itself? Interpretations multiplied as the video went viral, with some seeing it as an intentional strategy to humanize a powerful figure, while others dismissed it as nothing more than courteous habit. Yet the ambiguity itself gave the moment power. So what do you think? Was Tim Cook's long string of thank yous just business etiquette, or did it carry a metaphorical meaning? If you agree with the first interpretation, comment 1. If you think it signals something else, comment 0. While the room was filled with some of the most powerful figures in global technology, one absence stood out clearly: Elon Musk was not present. The video footage made it evident his familiar face and voice were missing from the gathering. Instead, reports suggested that although Musk had been invited, he chose not to attend personally. A representative from his team was said to have been present in his place, ensuring that Tesla, SpaceX, and his other ventures still had a symbolic presence at the table. The neutrality of the explanation was straightforward: scheduling conflicts, prior commitments, or strategic priorities may have kept Musk away. For a man known to divide his time across multiple industries, space exploration, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, and even social media, the possibility of a packed calendar is hardly surprising. Yet in the context of such a high-profile White House dinner, where every detail seemed carefully curated, his absence inevitably drew attention. Cameras lingered briefly on the empty chair that might have been his, and commentators quickly speculated on what it might mean. Was Musk's non-appearance nothing more than logistics, or was it perhaps a subtle signal? Some wondered if it reflected a deliberate choice to stand apart from a collective narrative, reinforcing his reputation as a maverick voice in technology. Others suggested it was simply the result of timing, with no further meaning attached. As with many aspects of Musk's public life, interpretation is left open to the audience. The very fact that his absence became a point of conversation speaks to his unique position in the global tech landscape. So here's the question: was Elon Musk's absence at this event just a matter of scheduling, or does it carry a deeper implication? If you think it's the first, comment 1. If you sense another meaning, comment 0. From the video, the imagery was as symbolic as it was carefully staged. The attire was formal, with every guest dressed in suits and evening wear that reflected the solemnity of the occasion. Leaders who normally appear in tech conferences or product launches were seen in a different light, shaking hands, engaging in polite conversations, and pausing for photographs that seemed destined for history books. The exchanges were deliberate, brief, and courteous, yet the atmosphere carried a weight beyond casual networking. Cameras captured not only the physical gestures, but also the unspoken messages embedded in them. A handshake between rivals, a shared smile between corporate giants, or a photograph featuring government officials beside tech executives, all of these framed the evening as more than just another dinner. Symbolism permeated the event. The formal clothing, the grandeur of the state dining room, and the choreographed mingling of the world's most powerful technology leaders with the highest levels of government all suggested a moment of alignment. Whether accidental or intentional, the optics conveyed unity, cooperation, and perhaps the beginning of a shared vision between two spheres that often stand apart: policy and technology. Yet the question remains how much substance hides behind the symbols. Was this gathering simply a stage-managed performance designed to reassure the public and markets of harmony between government and the tech elite? Or was it a genuine turning point marking the start of deeper structural cooperation that could shape the future of regulation, investment, and global innovation? Viewers are left to weigh appearances against possibilities. The images will circulate for months to come, inviting speculation each time they are replayed. So what do you think? Was this merely a ceremonial display, or does it stand as a landmark moment for the relationship between government and technology? Sometimes it is not the sweeping speeches or the grand announcements that linger in the public memory, but the small details that find their way into headlines and conversations. This dinner was no exception. Among the grand setting and formal statements, three moments in particular stood out, each shaping the way audiences engaged with the event. The first was when the president referred to the gathered executives as the high IQ group, a phrase delivered lightly, perhaps with humor, but instantly seized upon by the media. Was it meant as a compliment, a nod to their intelligence, or a subtle framing of their role in guiding the future? The second came from Satya Nadella, whose calm but firm announcement of 75-80 billion USD annually for Microsoft investments carried a gravity that sparked debate. For some, it was a statement of commitment. For others, it seemed more like a performance of scale meant to impress as much as to inform. The third, and perhaps the most viral, was Tim Cook's nearly 2-minute cascade of thank yous. What could have been brushed aside as simple politeness became an unexpected centerpiece, shared and replayed endlessly online. The repetition shifted from etiquette into spectacle, blending sincerity with a hint of theatricality. Taken separately, these moments could be dismissed as fragments, small quirks of an otherwise formal evening. Yet stitched together, they form a narrative that transcends the dinner itself. They invite interpretation, they generate memes, they spark headlines. More importantly, they illustrate how the intersection of government and technology is not only about policy and investment, but also about image, performance, and the stories that emerge in the public imagination. So the question remains, are these details merely scraps of a dinner soon to fade into the background, or will they stand as lasting markers in the history of how government and technology converse with one another? As soon as the dinner ended, its impact spilled far beyond the walls of the state dining room. The video recordings of speeches and interactions circulated, rapidly amplified by international media outlets and an endless stream of social media shares. What had been a carefully staged evening quickly transformed into a public spectacle, where every word, gesture, and absence became subject to interpretation. On social platforms, one moment in particular took center stage: Tim Cook's 2-minute chain of thank yous. Memes, parodies, and short clips spread at lightning speed, turning a simple act of politeness into viral content. Some celebrated the warmth and humor of the moment, while others questioned whether it carried hidden symbolism. Meanwhile, journalists across major outlets highlighted another striking detail: the absence of Elon Musk. Headlines speculated whether it was purely a scheduling conflict or a deliberate decision that spoke volumes about his relationship with the current administration. Alongside these viral snapshots, the staggering investment figures, hundreds of billions pledged by Meta, Apple, Google, and Microsoft, were dutifully reported. Yet they competed for attention against the more human, spontaneous details. In a media landscape shaped by clicks and shares, it was not always the largest numbers that captured the imagination, but the small gestures and unscripted oddities that gave the story its cultural weight. The result was a dual narrative, one focused on economics and power, the other on symbolism and personality. The question for observers is clear, which resonates more with the public. Our audience is more captivated by the monumental sums shaping the future of technology or by the lighthearted viral moments that humanize the leaders behind those figures. So what do you think? Are people paying more attention to the billions promised or to the ordinary humorous details that stole the spotlight? As the video concludes, what lingers is not just the spectacle of chandeliers, handshakes, and speeches, but the unanswered questions that remain suspended in the air. The grand numbers announced hundreds of billions from Meta and Apple. Vast sums from Google and Microsoft sound impressive. Yet the video leaves us wondering, how will these figures actually be put into practice? Will they translate into tangible projects, jobs, and innovations, or will they remain lofty promises without a roadmap? Another layer of uncertainty surrounds the leaders themselves. The CEOs stood confidently before the cameras, but viewers are left to ask, are these long-term commitments grounded in strategy and accountability, or simply diplomatic gestures tailored for a high-profile dinner? In an age where corporate narratives often blur the line between vision and reality, the question carries weight. And then there is the conspicuous absence of Elon Musk. For an event that brought together nearly every major figure in technology, his empty chair raised eyebrows. Was it truly a matter of scheduling as suggested, or a calculated decision to distance himself from the collective framing of big tech alongside government leaders? The lack of clarity fuels speculation, leaving the audience to connect the dots. Finally, perhaps the most pressing question is, broader, does this dinner signal the beginning of a new phase of cooperation between government and big tech? Or was it merely a ceremonial encounter designed for optics? If it is the former, the implications could reshape the balance of power in technology and policy for years to come. If the latter, it may fade into history as another polished performance without lasting consequences. These questions, unanswered within the video, are precisely what make the event so compelling. They ensure that the conversation will continue long after the last glass of wine was cleared from the table. In the end, what unfolded at the White House on September 5th was no ordinary dinner. It was a rare occasion where some of the most powerful names in global technology gathered under one roof, joined by the nation's highest office. The event blended formality with symbolism, polished speeches with unscripted gestures, leaving behind both staggering figures and fleeting moments that quickly spread across the world. It is difficult to pin down the meaning of such a night. For some, it will be remembered as a ceremonial dinner, an evening of polite exchanges, carefully arranged photographs, and symbolic words. For others, it may mark the quiet beginning of a deeper partnership between government and the companies shaping our digital future. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a mixture of performance and purpose. What is certain is that this gathering will not fade quickly from public discussion. The announced investments, the absence of Elon Musk, the president's high IQ group remark, and Tim Cook's viral wave of thank yous will continue to spark debate. Each viewer may take away something different, shaped by their own perspective and priorities. So we leave the questions with you. What captures your attention more? The colossal investment numbers or the small but striking moments? Does the absence of one major figure make the event feel less complete? And finally, was this just a cordial evening or the opening act of a new era in relations between technology and government? If you have thoughts on these questions, share them below. If you agree with the framing we've explored, press 1. If you see it differently, press 0.